Welcome to A Moment with Vivacious, a freedom ride where we the people gather to build ourselves, our family, our community, and our nation. For the sound of America for progress has reached critical mass. Understanding that we must put aside our differences to focus on the greater good. This is a place of collaboration to rebuild and restore our nation. Welcome to A Moment with Vivacious. Hello, everyone. It's exciting every week to come before you, building our nation, rebuilding our families, building our future together. I want to thank you for your patience again tonight. Oh, I'm so sorry, but we're here, and it's a hot topic with a hot guest that we've all been waiting on. I had so many requests about parenting and raising children in this country at this time, because some of them, like all of my friends, people from everywhere, different nations, and it's so different in America today. So today we have with us a master in social worker, a master mother. I've always admired her as a mother. We have with us Tiffany Foley, MSW. Tiffany's come into the studio. Good evening, Miss Foley. How are you?
Hi, good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is well. It's been a long day, but I'm here and I'm happy because this has been a long time coming.
Well, I'm so happy to have you. Should I call you Mrs. Foley, or is Tiffany
You can
okay?
call me Tiff, you family, so you can call me whatever you want.
Well, this is very important because I heard from so many people, in so many different situations. So I really don't think we can cover all of the needs that has been given to me in 1 hour. And but we're gonna get started. And again, I want to thank everybody for their patience. I thank you, Dale, for joining us. And it's going to be a good evening, I promise you. So, Tiff wanted to start, first of all, with um, young mothers, being a young mother, and what that entailed in the trials and difficulties that could bring. But I want you to know she won. Go ahead, Tiff.
So, good evening, everyone. I want to first say thank you to Vivacious for this platform, and just I feel greatly honored for her to consider me. She's asked me to come on and do this for some time now. We actually talked about coming in person on her radio and TV talk show in Atlanta, and we just never was able to put the schedule together. But I do want to just humbly thank you for this platform because this is such a needed topic. And so, as a teen mother myself, for those of you that are on that know me, and for those of you who do not know me, I was pregnant at 17 and I gave birth to my first daughter at age 18. So I got pregnant at 17, had my birthday in January, and gave birth to an 8-pound, 4-ounce baby girl. And I named her Kimbrianne Janae Gilmore. I believe she's on here. And if she is, I'm just thankful for her. She just turned 33, April 10th. And so I was a high school mother. I had her 1 month away from graduating from high school. And so that was a challenging time for me. Um, a lot of my friends, well, none of my friends had kids. There were some other young ladies in high school who I was not close with that had become mothers. I want to say the year before me, 11th grade. So again, that was a tough time for me because none of my friends had kids, and it wasn't a conversation that I could really sit down and talk to my friends about. How to parent, what do you do? What are you packing for lunch? What type of activities you have your kids involved in? So we didn't have those conversations. My friends was going off to college. I was stuck at home with a baby my first year. And so if it wasn't for family, Vivacious, my grandmother, my mother, um, it would have been even more difficult. It was hard. Again, I went through a lot of different things with my body. Not, I didn't know. I didn't know anything about having a baby. I had no clue. And so, I don't know where you want me to, lead with the rest of the conversation.
Because there's some mothers that had their babies young. There's some of us that had our babies old, but we still didn't have a clue. So if you could tell us, how did you get on track? Because you have a master's. You were always leading your life, but you are a very good mother, and you never let your kids out. So if you could tell us how you got a foundation to move, which family is good. Family is good, but you had.
Yes. Um, so again, like I said, it was difficult, and I'm just grateful that I had that village,
Mhm.
right? I had the village.
Ask you, did you live alone, or did you have your own place to live, or
Oh
did you
God.
have your mom? And how did you make ends meet wherever you were? Because some
So
people have babies and they live with their mom, but they still got to make their own weight. You
so
know.
no, actually, I thought I was grown. All right. And I actually left home at 17 in the 11th grade. Like approaching 17. 11th grade, I left home and I was living with my daughter's father. And I recall, hearing people and family, say that I would never graduate from high school because I left home. And then here I am in senior year, a month away from graduating from high school, having a baby. So at the time, I was living with my daughter's father and I was doing his homework. I was in 11th grade. He was in 12th grade. I went to McDonald 35 and he went to Francis T. Nichols High School. And so we thought we were grown. And I was living, like I said, I was living with him. He and I had our own apartment, our own house. And when I had my daughter, my mom let me. I went and stayed with my mom and my stepdad, and I was so thankful because I didn't have a clue, y'all. I'm telling y'all, I just had this beautiful baby. I dressed her all day, maybe 3, 4 times a day. To me, she was like a little porcelain baby doll. And I really didn't know. And so for the first 2 weeks, I had a C-section. And so I had to heal from that. And my mom, whenever my baby would wake up, Kimberly would get up and cry throughout the night for the first 2 weeks. My mom would get up with her. So I remember one time, she woke up in the middle of the night and my mom got up and she said, your baby crying. And I said, that baby crying. And she said, your baby crying. So that was the clue that I had to get up and start, doing things. But she did it for the first 2 weeks to help me because I had the C-section, right? So I had to get up and start whenever she would get up in the middle of the night and tend to her. Um, it was hard because I still had to work to pay my bills. Like I said, I didn't go to college my first year because I had a baby. And so I worked. And then I was working different jobs. I was trying to work wherever anybody that would pay me some decent money because back then I want to say minimum wage was like $3.25 an hour or $3.50 an hour. I bought a bus pass that was $60 a month. And I caught the bus everywhere I had to go. I had to pay for childcare. I want to say back then it was like $60 a week. That was high. I couldn't afford that. I got a job at I want to say the Sheraton Hotel. I was doing housekeeping. And one of the incentives, if you they came around and they checked 3 of your rooms every week. And if you scored like a 90% or higher on the cleanliness of your room, then one of the incentives that you would get like $200. I'm gonna just say, I want to say it was like $150, $200 extra on your paycheck. So, honey, I was cleaning them rooms because I needed that money to pay for my child care. And I got that money every pay period to help me pay for my child care. And so it was hard because I was catching a bus. I didn't have a car. Again, I had to work. And then, I sat down one day and I said, you know what? McDonald's is not going to get it. Housekeeping is not going to get it. I need to go to school. And so the following year after I had her, I enrolled in college. Um, I had some family that helped to keep her while I was in school. And then I had some family that couldn't help for whatever reason. Then there were days where I had to take her to school with me because I didn't have a babysitter. I remember her dad's aunt would keep her for me, and she passed away. So I didn't have that support system anymore. And I just could remember her always telling me, don't quit. Whatever you do, don't quit. So there were many days where I worked in the daytime. Well, let me go back. When I first started college, I was going in the daytime. And I had a job, I want to say working security overnight, and that didn't work for me. That did not work for me at all. I was falling asleep on them people's job, and that just wasn't working for me. So I ended up getting a job, I want to say at Sears Credit Central. And I remember the job wouldn't work with me with my school schedule. So I was like, okay, I'm trying to balance the two, trying to figure out what I'm going to do because I got to pay my bills. I have to feed my child. So I ended up quitting my job. And then I wound up going back to school. And one semester, that particular semester when I quit school, I had 7 classes. I was enrolled full time. At SUNO, and I had 7 classes. And I didn't know because I didn't ask anybody. I always just wanted to do stuff on my own. I didn't really ask a lot of questions. I just did it, and if I fell on my face, I found a way to get back up. And I ended up enrolling in school for that semester, and I had to drop. I mean, I didn't drop the classes. I just stopped going to school. And unbeknownst to me, I was supposed to withdraw from school and drop those classes, and I didn't. So I received 7 Fs. 7 Fs, right? So when I did finally go back about a year and a half later, I enrolled in school at night, and I worked in the daytime. And so I would catch the bus, bring my daughter to daycare, and then I would go to school go to work on the bus. When I got out of school at 3, out of work at 3, I'd have to get on the bus and go pick her up from daycare. By then, I think she was in kindergarten. So she would go to the after school program. I had to pay for that because it wasn't free. Um, I would pick her up from school. We would go to McDonald's in Gentilly, have some lunch, some dinner for her, really. And then I would go to class because my classes were in the evening, 5:50 in the afternoon till like 9:50 at night, 10 o'clock. And then we would catch the bus home. So the days that I brought her with me, those were hard days and those were challenging times because I still had to go home and do homework with her. I still had to do my homework. So I would fix her something to eat if she wanted more dinner at night. I would give her bath. We would do homework, and then I would take a nap. So I would set the clock for like maybe 3 in the morning to get up early so I could do my homework or study. And then I had to be to work for 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. So it was hard. I do remember having support. Like there was a time when my grandmother kept my daughter when she was in kindergarten. I think kindergarten, she was attending Corpus Christi School. So she was like, you know what? Just let her come stay here during the weekday. You get her on the weekends, and we'll make sure she get to school. And I was like, okay, that was a great help for me, right? But then my daughter started, having behavioral issues in school. And as a young mom, I didn't know why. I just kept saying, this child don't want to listen. This girl don't want to listen. She cutting up. But as I, matriculated in, excuse me, as I matriculated in school with social work, I started learning about development, children going through developmental stages and things like that, right? That I didn't know. She was yearning for my attention. She was acting out because she wanted mom, even though I got her on the weekends and we did things on the weekends together. I don't think that was enough. I know now, looking back, it really wasn't. To me, I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing because I have family that's taking care of my daughter for me during the week. I'm able to go to school, but I knew that I needed the help, right?
Right.
And I wasn't out in the street partying and doing different things like that. I was going to work and I was going to school, and I would get my daughter on the weekend and I would take her to the park or, do different things with her on the weekend. And in my mind, I thought I was doing enough. And so her looking back, her acting out during that time is because she wanted me during the week, even though she was with family. To her, that probably still was strangers. That wasn't a place that she was at every day until that moment when I brought her there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that was a hard time. That was a hard time. I want to say, her first, I would say her first, maybe from 2 to about 5 to 6. That was a hard time because I was working and I was in school. I would spend time with her on the weekends. And then I graduated undergrad. I was pregnant with my second daughter in undergrad a year before I graduated. And then I had Jazz. So they're 6.5 years apart. And so I know that what Kimbrian experienced as opposed to Jasmine is totally different. At least for Jazz first 2.5 years, she was still quite young to not really understand because I went straight from undergrad to grad school. And that was 3 years. And so Jasmine's first 3 years, she was still a little younger. Kimbrian being 5 and 6 and I'm in school, she's older and she's requiring more time to be able to do different things. Jasmine being a baby, that may not have affected her as much, and she may not remember that because she was like between 1 and 3 while I was in grad school. But the support of my family, um, if I didn't have that support, Vivacious keeping Kimbrian while I was in school. But I do want to say, when you're parenting and you're trying to figure out, how you're going to navigate things. You sit down and you strategize. Okay, this is what I need, and this is how I'm going to get it done. And these are the people that I can lean on for support. You want to make sure those people are going to back you up because if you're setting rules and they're not
Oh yeah.
enforcing those, and Vivacious know where I'm going with this, all right? If, if you set rules, right? And then the people that you have around you, your family, your loved ones, your friends, your support system, make sure they're backing you with the rules that you've enforced, that they're not allowing them to break those rules when they go to their house. Because when they come home, you're getting a blunt end of that, right? And you wondering why they have an attitude or they don't want to do the things they routine because when they were going to the other place, the people that you trusted, they letting them do whatever they want to do and get away with it.
She
You
didn't.
got to have balance.
She didn't have a routine at my house. When all the children were going off, she was punished. Sometimes those teachers. I remember one day I picked her up from school. I had to tell the teacher why is she always um I don't remember the exact moment. I'm just I mean exact thing that happened, but I didn't think she was treated right, so I had to take her home and make her feel better about herself. Sometimes like I have to be her mother. I'm her nanny Val. I don't have to be her mother.
See, I didn't know until older, when I got older, Vivacious. let the cat out the bag. Oh, I just wanted to tell you, when Kimmy used to come by me, I felt so bad for I know when she would be punished. Chris and I, we let her do whatever she wanted to do. And I was like, oh, really? So she was like, I kind of feel guilty because I played a part in some of this stuff. But I see Stephanie ask a question. Did you feel like sometime that you weren't a good mother? No, Stephanie, at the time, like I said, I was 18 when I had my first daughter. Um, 19 when I went to college, almost 20 for my first year. I didn't feel like I was a bad mother. It wasn't until I she got older, and after I finished the social work program, and she and I had some we went through our difficulties, and then sitting back, you know, in my own time to myself, just thinking back on that time period, that's when it clicked and said, you know what? That's why, some of the her acting out was because of that. I never felt like I wasn't a good mother because I always felt I was doing the best thing for my daughter and my second daughter when I had her. The whole reason of me not quitting was because of them. Because I always just felt like I knew $3.25 an hour was not going to be enough money to take care of no child. I was barely paying for childcare. I'm working, hustling, cleaning 16 rooms at the Sheraton Hotel, making sure every week I get that extra $200 to pay that $60 a week. Mind you, I had to pay for van service, right? So no, I didn't think I was a bad mother. Um, I really didn't think that I was neglecting her in any way. Like I said, in my mind at the time, I had her with my grandmother during the week. I got her on the weekends. We did that for a year, and then that didn't work out. So then, that went out the window. And then I did what I had to do. I dropped her off at school. I went to work. I picked her up from school. I took her with me to school. And then there was a point when somebody, I used to bring her in a classroom with me. And then there was somebody that, went in, I guess, because every time the teacher would ask a question, Kim Brown would raise her hand like she was a student in the classroom. So somebody went to the teacher and said something about it. So the teacher told me I couldn't bring her in the class anymore. But he was like, you know what? If you take a desk and you sit it out in the hall, you could go out and check on her. So I would let her bring her coloring book and do her little homework or whatever. She thought she was doing her homework. And I would get up and just go check on her. But I brought her with me because I didn't have nobody to keep her. And I wanted to finish college. I was
It was
not going to
very
stop.
important. It was very important for you to finish college, and I think that, speaking of younger people, younger than when we raise kids, there have to be sacrifices. They have to be sacrifices for family. And I think that your daughters are well rounded in understanding that everything is not going to be just the way I want it when I want it. And that's the part of raising kids. And that give them the wisdom to grow in what they're growing. So if we could move a little bit, let's move to teenage years and
Right.
parents and some of the things that how the books say, um, how the book said we should parent. But I'm grateful that you did finish school, and I'm sure that both of your girls are grateful that you finished school because you were able to show them, and you could be a better grandparent because you were able to go to school, and they would have had to sacrifice more if you didn't go to school.
Right.
So
Um,
let's talk about like teenage years and then some of the things in discipline, because I always say you got to give the children wisdom. I say
right.
that a lot these days, young mamas. Y'all let them make all of these decisions. They're making
Hmm.
decisions that they didn't have a chance to go and learn and get wisdom to be able to make a solid decision. Can we talk about some of that?
So Do you mean so like the children's teenage years? How was
Uh,
it for me to parent
well,
them during the teenage years?
two different things. Parenting your child when you were going through and that was hard. And it looks like Stephanie is trying to say something else. Thank you,
Right.
Stephanie. I want to let everybody know Stephanie is so faithful. She has won a faithful follower gift.
Yeah.
And
So
I
I
will
see Stephanie says, what about you if you don't have support with your kids and a disabled husband and you are doing it by yourself, working full time, and it's messing with my mental health? How can I balance my situation? So Stephanie, I definitely understand where you are because I was in your shoes in so many ways, not with a disabled husband, but working full time and not really having someone that could keep my daughter from me while I go to school. And it was really hard. Um, Mental health is real. And one of the things I want to say is that, as parents, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to, take time out for ourselves. And I probably didn't do that back then. I didn't go out in the clubs during the time when I was in school. That's why I can't tell you certain songs who made what song during that time because I was working and going to school and studying. And parenting. I didn't have time for that at that time. But when I had time and I was done, trust me, I got it in. But I would say to balance that, Stephanie, um, some right now, you may have to put the kids in after school or before school care, or maybe nowadays they have 24-hour daycare centers. It may cost you a little bit more to be able to get that to, so someone can keep them while you're in school, but then also finding time for your mental health, whether you do a spa day, you go walking, you wake up earlier than the kids get up in the morning just to have that meditation time to yourself, read a book, but you have to find some time separate, and it's going to require those hard sacrifices. Like I said, I used to get up, come home, get her ready, go to sleep, and I would set the clock at 3 in the morning. I had an exam I had to take, and I had to find when I was going to have time to study because I was working during the day and I couldn't do it on the job. So there were some days where I didn't get a full 8 hours of sleep. I got up early in the morning. On the weekends when I was off, I studied. So definitely balancing it, Steph. Number one thing I want you to do is find some time to do something for you, even if you did it once a month. Just find that time for yourself. But the teenage years, Vivacious, that was a hard time too. So um, I always was the type of parent that we had rules, you know, and we talked about the rules. So, and there were consequences for those things. And I was consistent and I enforced those rules. Now, whether or not my children liked it or not, that's a different story. But I enforced the rules. So if they were punished, they were punished. If I said you were punished for 2 weeks, you were punished for 2 weeks. I didn't divvy away from that. I didn't, break my promise of the punishment. I stuck to, to my end of the punishment. It wasn't, oh, you're punished because I said so. There were instances where I had to say because I said so, because maybe they tried to challenge me. Definitely my oldest one. You all here, Kimmy, you know what I'm talking about. But I always, would hear their side of the story. Okay, so what happened? Okay, why did you feel the need to do what you did? Okay, so based on that, this is what the repercussion is going to be, right? And so you're going to be punished for X amount of time. I stuck to that. I remember one Christmas, I felt so bad. The child cut up so bad. She was punished for Christmas. I didn't buy her nothing for Christmas. And I stuck to that. And I felt so bad. But had I, went back on that, then she wouldn't have taken me serious. Right. And so I to those parents, you have a teenager. Sometimes you're going to have those tough decisions that you're going to have to make. You're going to have tough conversations. But you also can do it with compassion, right? So, you can you may say, that I love you, and um if I allow, if we allow you to just do certain things, then when you get older, the world doesn't operate like that. There's rules in place for a reason, right? We have government, we have laws, we have police officers. And if I allow you to just do what you want to do, when you get older, you're going to think that you can always do that. You may go on your job, right? And there may be something that you don't like that your boss said. You can't get an attitude and stomp off because the boss told you that you couldn't take a day off, right? I can't just stomp off or smack my teeth and slam the door. So we have to be conscious of how we reply to certain things, even though it may not be what you want to hear. And so as a parent, parenting a teenager, that's a hard time. And it was hard for me because, again, I didn't have any friends with teenagers. My friends' children are just not becoming teenage or like right in their last year high school, just finishing the first year of college, right? My oldest daughter's 33. The youngest one's going to be 27. So stick to your guns, but be fair, have open communication, discuss what those rules are. So when they break those rules, they already know this is the consequence behind that, and stick to that. And then once they're done with that punishment, it's okay to discuss it. So how did you feel about that? Okay. Did you learn anything from that? Would you do anything different? Would you like to be punished like that again? you know, do you think you like for me to take your cell phone from you for another month? You
I'm
know?
so glad somebody is saying something. Is
Mhm.
something? I can't see it.
Keisha, do she understand what you was trying to do now? Um, it's a good question. Kimmy, you want to respond to that? I mean, with my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter, they're 6.5 years apart. Um, and and I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, with my oldest daughter, when she was 8, her father was killed. And so that was another hard time for us. And so I got a lot of rebellious behavior from her. She was very envious towards me. And I knew that it wasn't me, but I was getting all the blunt of everything. I got the blunt of it all. All of it. But I still had to stick to my guns. And I do remember the teenage years. It was awful. And I was like, Lord, I don't know what to do. This child just don't want to listen to me. She just gonna give me the run around. She gonna do the opposite of what I say. If I say A, she's saying B. If I say it's raining outside, she say it is snowing. I mean, it was just always something, and it just felt like it would never end. She say, I remember. So you remember? I mean, it was always so much. I recall bringing her to school when she was younger after her dad was killed, and I would not look in the rearview mirror because the crossing guard would be flagging me down to come back and get her. I thank God for my boss that I had at the time, because as soon as I would get to work, they were calling me to come get her from school. I remember them telling me, look, you're going to have to either do a half a day at school with her, or no, you're going to either have to come to school with her or do a half a day of school with her. It was something like, oh, she could only do a half a day, and I could come and sit with her at school. I said, well, first of all, neither one of those things gonna work for me. So how's about we just go ahead and withdraw her from school right now? Because that ain't working for me, right? I gotta work. I said, I need help. I'm telling y'all, this child don't want to listen. I don't know what's going on. I need some help. So as parents, we have to first recognize that something is wrong, right?
Right.
And be open to receiving help. Sometimes you may have a child who needs behavioral help, and nothing's wrong with that, right? Just like if you had a heart condition, you're gonna go see a cardiologist, right?
Yeah.
If you had a stroke, you're going to see a neurologist, right?
Yes.
So if you have a child that's struggling, that's having some emotional, behavioral challenges, or maybe you guys are button heads at home, family counseling is it's nothing's wrong with that. For so long, families didn't want to talk about those issues, but we have to talk about it. And insurances nowadays make it so easy to get counseling. Child, you ain't even got to go in nobody's office. We could do it just like this. Televisits. You don't want to leave your house? Get on a computer. So you can talk to somebody right in the comfort of your own home, but you have to be open to build that relationship so that you could heal. Somebody
Oh wow.
says, "Hello, Miss.
You say that again?
Congratulations on not quitting to true." And so
I'm sorry, I wanted to read that, but I want you to repeat that again
uh,
because healing is a big part of some of the things that we go through. We try to move on without healing, and who would think that there needs to be a healing while you're raising your child?
yes, I mean, I think a part of our challenges, that my oldest daughter and I had was because I was a young mom, right? I was a
Yes.
young mother and I was learning. I didn't know anything about having a baby. I didn't have anybody to talk to about it with my friends. There was a lot of things I just kept to myself. And I just was in parent mode and survival mode, right? And so as she got older and we started having those different challenges as a teenager, that was even harder. And I don't think we never really talked about it. We never like sat down and had a conversation, even to this day, like to really sit down and talk about what that time was like. We never did counseling together. I brought her to counseling, but she and I never did a family counseling, right? So the healing process, again, it's okay to say, I need help. It's okay to say that we need help. We need some family counseling, or the child needs help, or the parent. It's okay to take parenting classes because there's no book on parenting. But there's no, people have written books, but when you act, it's different reading the book and telling you what to do than actually going through it and doing it. That's that's
I
that's
did
that's
work.
that's different.
I had the little baby. I didn't have no clue. So my sister-in-law bought me the book, right? So I had the
Mhm.
book. Every day I read. I was trying to keep up the reading with my baby's age. Nidra
Mhm.
had bought the book. So one day my baby just kept crying and crying and crying and crying. So I had to do something. I called my sister and I said, um, look, the baby keep on crying. She said, do such and such a thing. I said, I can't do that. The book said, she said, close the book.
Close the book.
Pick up the baby. You know? And I followed the instructions and it worked for the baby.
Right.
And so the book don't always, yeah, people wrote books, but I think people are so individual and each child is another person. So it's hard to fit in that book. But I want to talk about this. I want to see can you help some parents with this? Because
Mhm.
I didn't go through anything. Chris, my baby, Nola Reeds, she was the easiest child to raise. It was the day she made 18
Mm.
when she like I'm grown now. I guess that was the thing.
Mhm.
Age since she's 18 to 24, but we did have that grown up talk. But these phones are just like children will fight their parents. I'm talking about punch their mamas
Oh
over
yes.
the phone. The things that the parents are experiencing now. Could you tell us anything that could have caused that, where parents that have children younger coming through can avoid it, and how do they handle their children wanting to fight them? I can't imagine, and I really
Been there, done that.
all of I was myself,
Been through all of that.
and I'm gonna call the police when I finish, because I have parents that's going through this. Especially
So
phones, man.
what I would say is that we need to look in the mirror, right? So we're paying for these expensive cell phones for these kids. When I was in school, they didn't even have cell phones. We walked to school about a mile and a half. We didn't have cell phones. I think it's called privilege. The kids feel privileged. Like these are things that I need. That's not a need. That's a want. I do understand that we are living in different times now and, having a cell phone for safety reasons. But you think a child need an iPhone? What happened to them little Go phone things or whatever they call them that they used to come out with for the babies, where almost like a walkie-talkie? All you need to be able to do is dial 911 and call me for an emergency. You don't need to have access to the internet. You don't need to have access to all this other stuff. And I think that we as parents, we create these monsters. And I said it. We create the issues, right? Because we don't want them to do without. We want them to have better than what we have. And so we want to make sure that they don't go without. But what we're doing, you're not preparing them, right? You're not making them self-sufficient. Certain things should be earned over a period of time. There should be limits to things, certain things. You should set limits. Perfect example, my grandson. We just came back from, and you think parenting stop when your kids get older, right? Nope. So my grandson, we just came back from Orlando over the weekend. And I helped my daughter to get him it's not, I don't know, Kimbrian, put it in the chat. I don't know, PlayStation game. I can't even keep up with the games because as soon as you get one game, they want another one. And I'm like, wait, did you play all the games that came with the other game before you start asking for another game console? So you want to play PlayStation and then you want to, what's the other games? I'm still thinking about an Atari or Nintendo or whatever. But my point is, we give them things that they don't need, right? So over the weekend, he's 12, so he's getting a little older, and sometimes they want to start smelling themselves, and they got a little disrespectful. What I felt was being disrespectful because when I asked him to get up, he was still on that game and he never moved, and I didn't say it once, right? So I took the game from him this weekend when we came home. I took the game. So he texted me today before we got on here. The text message came through my phone and said, when am I going to get my game back? And I texted him back, good afternoon. He texted me back, good afternoon. I say, how was your day today? And how was your test? He texted me back, I had a good day. We didn't have our test today. It's actually going to be whatever. And I politely texted him back, I will let you know when you'll get your game back. I love you. So that's still parenting, right? He's 12. And if I allow him to think that he can disrespect me now, he's going to try to do that later. But going back to, we give them things that they don't need. Our children are spoiled. We need to teach them social skills. A lot of kids don't have social skills. They don't even know how to act with real life situations. That's why a lot of our children are committing suicide, because they can't handle real pressure. And all of these things are things that we bring on and create for our children, whether we want to admit it or not. Prime example, the teenagers now that are going out in the prom dresses, half naked. Come on now. Let's keep it real. Who bought the dress? Kimberly and Jasmine knew they'd have never made it out the house with those dresses on at all. So we have to go back to the parents. Why are we allowing our young girls to dress provocative, And then, not that a young man have a right to, to do anything to a young lady or to touch her in an inappropriate way, but why even set her up for that? Right? We want to raise kings and queens, and some things need to be saved. And so, as parents, we have to take a hard look in the mirror and say, am I raising my child correctly? Am I an enabler? Am I enabling this behavior? Did I create this behavior? Whether sometimes the truth hurts. And the hardest thing is accepting that you had something to do with the situation. And that was a part of my reality when I go back and I look at those younger years of thinking that I was doing the right thing because I was focused on Tiffany finishing school so that I could take care of my daughter. And at the same time, I sacrificed some important moments with her and didn't understand that I helped create some of those behaviors because those were attention seeking behaviors that I totally missed on. I mean, I didn't have a clue. I had no clue. But I think that we can raise healthy kids and still have set boundaries, right?
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
You
And
we have to set boundaries, and they have to be clear boundaries.
when you started talking and said my child is grown and now I have grandkids, but it kind of hit me in my heart right here, boom.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that a lot of us we really have to rethink this internet thing. But another thing I want to bring up because we're running out of time.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I want to bring up, and that is how early sex is being introduced to our children.
Very early. So I work in a pediatric clinic, pediatric setting, and we see everything, right? So kids are coming in very young, not even teenagers that are that have been exposed to sex in some way. If you think that your child does not know about something, they know about it because they have access to so much stuff that we did not have access to. And that goes back again to about the phones and the type of phones they have. Certain things, their brain is not even developed to handle certain things. So social media plays a big part in all of this stuff as well. Um, there's no need to sugarcoat discussing sex. Why? They talking about it in the school. So you need to be honest and talk about it with the kids. I mean, I personally don't think that if the child brings it up, like say for instance, the child comes home and say, "Oh, mom, so and so said thus and so at school." It's time to have that conversation about sex and not sugarcoat it. Be real with it. Because in school they're hearing the vulgar words. And not only that, even from babies, we teach everything is developmental, right? So we teach them from the babies. You're saying, "Oh, don't touch your pee pee." Oh, did they touch this? No, use the words. Because if you ask a child, "Did so and so touch your pee pee?" They're gonna say no, right? Because maybe the perpetrator said penis. But you never said penis. You said pee-pee. So no, they didn't touch my pee-pee, right? So you teach your kids what their body parts are and the correct name of their body parts, and you teach them about boundaries. And then you have those discussions early because they're having them in school. And the children are having sex way too early. Now, there are other issues where, you know, um, um, child abuse is involved where the child, it wasn't the child's fault or anything that they initiated. But then there are those cases where the kids, children are gone through developmental stages in their life. We all went through it. There are going to be stages where they're going to be exploring their bodies. They're going to be stages where they want to explore with other people, different sex. These are stages that they're going through. And so um, we can't be blind to what's going on. You cannot be blind to the situation. You have to have those, like I said, remember I said early on, you're going to have uncomfortable conversations that need to be had. You have to have those conversations. Some Sparky Honey 22 said, where would you say the best place for a toddler to learn social skills? So um if the toddler is in school, and if the toddler is not in school, I definitely encourage being enrolled in school, whether it's early Head Start or Head Start. If you qualify for those type of programs, those are free programs. Child, I didn't know nothing about that. They both would have been in Head Start centers. I worked in one for so long. But Head Start and early Head Start centers, they're learning social skills. You can take a child to the playground and, interact with other kids, but you definitely want that child to be amongst other kids. People who have one child at home, it's kind of hard because the child doesn't have anybody to play with. So they may be lacking in social skills. Summer programs, put the child in a summer program. There are a lot of free programs, that just look up, go on via link, VIALINK, or dial 211 on your phone anywhere, 211 or via link. If you could put that in the chat. And you can ask them for social skills classes in your zip code area. Anything you need, like resources, rent, lights, basically anything you can contact via link, and they'll connect you to resources in your area based on your zip code. But I definitely highly recommend that if you don't have your child involved in any type of activities where they're around other kids, where they can learn, then you need to connect them to some type of activities for social skills. Keisha say we need a part 2. Let me tell you, Keisha, child, it's a whole segment because it's so much. Look, I took some notes. There's some stuff I ain't even touch on, right? um, but thank you,
Yeah,
Stephanie.
we
Thank
need
you.
to schedule first thing in the morning to come back for part two, but also I want you to come in studio. But another
Okay.
I want to talk about too is because I know we're just touching, but we're gonna go deeper, Keisha, I promise. Parents and their distractions. Like, do we realize how much time we spend on our social media, on the internet? And
Right.
like all together, everybody faces in their phone. I noticed that I went home with my sister. I wanted them to get off their phone and spend some time with me. And they just kept on. They was talking. They would look up and talk, but they was still on their phone. And so, how much parenting are we missing on our devices?
A lot. A lot, because like you said, we've gotten so accustomed to having the phones and everything is at our fingertips, and you're in the phone all day long. So you missed a lot. You missed you missed a conversation that child was having on the phone that was inappropriate with someone. You missed the cussing that's going on while they playing the game that they could talk with their friends on, on the TV together, right? You missed opportunity to have a learning lesson over dinner. You're not even discussing how your day was at school because everybody's on their phone. What did you learn today? Was there anything that upset you today? Is there anything that I could do to help you make your day better tomorrow? Everybody's on the phone and everything's at their fingertips. So you're missing out on a lot. Those are, dinner time should be quality time. And so my grandchildren know when they come here, the games and all of those things, I want y'all to put those things up. Put them up. There's going to be a moment in time that I'm going to allow them to do those things, but I want us to interact with each other. You know, watch a movie together, play a game together. We act silly together. You know, those are teachable moments, that I don't want to lose out on. And I give them time to go get the game and play after we've done those type of things. And I say, okay, now y'all can go play y'all games.
And I
But
am
to just
so
walk in a
appreciative.
door with it, no, put it up. Oh, we can't hear you. You muted. You mute. You did something to the volume.
Can you hear
I can
me?
hear you. Yes.
Sorry. Sometimes the person on the other side of that game or on the other side of that internet is just not a child. And
Oh,
I'm so
definitely.
afraid of children, like we just leaving them out there exposed to the world. What are some of the things? This is the last thing I promise because we over
Mhm.
time. But what are some of the things that how do we recognize some of these things?
Um, Now let's be honest. There are going to be some things that you're not going to know. There's some things you're just not going to know about probably until after it has happened, right? And that's the unfortunate side of this because somebody's child could be taken, right? Because there are predators that are on the games and pretending to be kids and they befriend the children because, you know, in order for the child, they have to gain that child's trust. Because if it's a stranger, they have to be they have to gain that child's trust. So they basically grooming the child in a way. And so it's about being alert and being aware of what your children are doing at all times, whether they think you're in their business or not. Period. you know, get on a game with them. Have those conversations with the children. If somebody ever reach out to you, whether it's a child or not, if a child was to call you, for instance, I said, okay, I think I had this conversation with my grandson too, because he was like, that don't make no sense. I say, you know what? You just 12 and you really don't understand, but those things do happen. He said, well, but that's stupid. Why would a child just leave out their house? I say, there are some kids that do that because the person that they gain trust in ask them to come and meet them. Or can you bring me something? I'm gonna pull up. Can you bring something to the car for me? Can you bring me a game? Or I'm in the neighborhood with my mom. Can you run outside and bring me an ice cream? And then next thing you know, your child done went outside and you looking for your child and somebody done drove off with your child. So you'll say to the child, I think you need to have that conversation with the child and say, you know what? If a child or an adult or anybody ever asks you to go anywhere with them and leave out this house to meet them somewhere, tell them I need to call my mom and ask them first and then see what their response is. Don't you ever leave out this house to go meet nobody to bring them nothing or to help them do anything without coming talk to me first. And I think, you know, um,
I am
that could
so glad.
possibly save a child's life.
I'm so glad that you say that because my own grandchildren. Oh, Nana, you're so negative. You always thinking somebody trying to steal us. You are
They
beautiful
say
little
that.
children. Somebody's trying to steal you. Somebody's trying to steal you. Yes, they are. I'm so glad you said. I'm so glad to have you. And like Keisha said, thank you, Keisha. Thank you, Stephanie, and everybody. I can't. I'm so sorry, y'all. I can't see the screen. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dale. Thanks I'm so happy that everybody joined in. My Kimmy, you my Kimmy. She thinks you her Kimmy, but you my Kimmy. I love y'all.
Before we end this, I do want to talk about real quick. Before we end this, I want to say those parents that are out there that's permissive parents and parents that are out there who just are not involved, please, get some help, talk to somebody, change your mindset, get involved with your kids. You don't want to be their friend. You could be friendly. It's a difference. You need to be their parent first. And yes, you need to be all up in their business. They shouldn't have no locks on their cell phones. Some parents take the doors off the room. Ain't no closing and slamming no doors in my house. So get in their business, but be compassionate about it. Give yourself grace, and you're doing a wonderful job. And if you're not, it's okay to seek help, talk to somebody. I look forward to part 2.
And we want to talk about when we come back. We want to talk about parents who totally lost control and they just, they just like so weary about it. Just what can I do? They've done everything that they know how to do. And I want you to know that we haven't forgotten your situation. I know we didn't get to all the situations that I said we would talk about tonight. But she said she's coming back and we're going to make sure it's not long. And I just, and this is needed. It's so needed, community. Thank you guys. And Stephanie, I'm going to be sure you get your faithful gift. And everybody, look, I'm watching. I go to see who's all checked in. And when you come in, especially if you have friends that come in, let me know. And I'll be sure to get you your gift. You don't have to live here in Georgia. Tiffany don't. Tiffany lives in Louisiana. So if you have
And to all
something,
my friends that came on tonight, I have a free Mary Kay gift from.
include me.
I'll send you something too, Val. So all my friends and family that came on tonight, Chris, let me know who all was on, and I have a free gift for you guys, and I'm gonna send you something too, Val.
Don't send it. I'll be home next month.
All
I'll
right, thank
bring
you,
it.
guys.
But I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, helping us build. We're going to be better. We're not going down in history like this. We're changing the course and the direction of our nation. Thank you very much, Chris. I don't know how to turn it off.
Good night, everybody.